What you focus on. Welcome back to the Lady K Chat podcast. You are here with your favorite host, Lady K. Happy New Year to you. And for those who are tuning in for the very first time, I am the Lady K. I speak that fire truth. Don't hold my tongue back, but I do it with love. And I would like to welcome you to today's show. And I'm going to be speaking about I want more, because we all desire a little bit more in life. And yes, we know we have the goals to obtain tangible items, but I really want to go more on a personal level. Let's speak more about your personal growth, because there are some things that we don't realize indirectly it hinder us, and in order for us to go to our next level, it's going to require for us to put in some work. So that does mean evolving. And evolving, sometimes it comes natural, sometimes evolving comes by a natural disaster happen, or sometimes even an event that happened in your life. But the main thing is that you are ready to go to your next level. So because you are ready to go to your next level, and you know that's going to take for you to evolve, you have to identify some things. So it's going to require for you to take some time back, just to scale back, and just to examine some things. And one of the biggest things we have to do is examine our environment that we're in. And sometimes we ignore the little things, but sometimes those little things play a major factor into the things that we want to do, and it hinders us. And we just have to just take some extra precaution and say, you know what, let me look at certain things, because maybe this could be the reason why, or that can be that one thing that take you to your next level. So I'm just going to provide some additional context. So I said sometimes we have to evaluate our environment and some of the things that we may do or other people may do. And it's so easy. I'm going to say this. It is so easy to look at other people and say, oh, that's your struggle. And then, we get annoyed by it, and you're entitled to. But at the same time too, this is why we say have grace and mercy for people, because you don't know what their internal battle is to get over that one hump. And it's the same thing with you. They don't know directly. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Sometimes we know what that one hump is. The other time, we're not conscious of what that hump may be. And people get annoyed with us, and we're looking at them, well, what's wrong with you? And they're looking at you, well, what's wrong with you? Don't you see yourself? And the answer is no. So again, this is where it goes back to having grace and being kind to one another because of our everyday struggles. But back to the part where you're ready to evolve, and now you got to dig a little bit deeper than self, and now it's time for you to evaluate your environment. So it's always great to start with the home first, because everything starts with the home. And I want to talk about the relationships you may have in the home. And I want to share a perfect example of a story how sometimes people are just unaware how they try to bring their habits into the midst of you're trying to break your own damn habits. But here are some habits that could hinder you. So my story is that one time that me and my ex, we was at the house together, and he decided to get into the shower, right? So he get into the shower, he turns on the water, he wets himself, he lathers his rag with the soap. Once he does that, he turns the water off. He starts to, proceed to wash up really good while the water is off. And then once he felt like he was soapy enough, got all the areas, he turned the water back on and rinsed himself off. And he said to me, hey, you should try this because it saves water. And I'm looking at him like, no, sir, no, thank you. That is not something I want to do. I do not want to be cold. That it is not that serious. So I'm going to be saving $1.25 just so I turn off that water because we decide to save money on the electric bill or the water bill. No, it's not happening. And in our situation, we had more than enough money, to pay for that electric bill. And it wasn't like it was a ridiculous amount. It was less than $200 because it was a house. So, and the money was there. So I'm saying this to you is sometimes people in a frugal mind, they think, they are doing something they want you to do. And it's like, no, thank you. And they can't even grasp the concept of what they're doing and what they're asking you to do, especially if you're not used to that type of lifestyle. You do not have to get hit with that. Sometimes in things like that, you got to get a replacement. And that's the reason why sometimes they are referred to as an ex. Okay. Here's another taught thing that we don't realize. The reason why this was taught, because that person had their reasons, and you don't even realize that because of their reasons, you're bringing those habits into your life. And I'm going to give a perfect example of still in the home, but I'm going to bring it to the kitchen. So I remember one day I had an aha moment. I just finished frying, and when you frying food, it requires for the oil and it requires for some flour. And I proceeded to clean up the kitchen, and I realized I was about to save the oil and save the flour. And I said to myself, why are you saving this flour when a bag of flour is less than $3 and you got this big old bag that you can use it for multi-purpose, but you want to store it and hold on to it. And it's the same thing with the oil. You want to hold on to that oil, use it maybe 2 or 3 more times, and then throw it away. Not realizing by you doing that, the toxins that get released into your food, and we wonder why we struggle with high blood pressure, diabetes, and I can go on with all the other illnesses that we deal with in our community. And I realized, this was a taught behavior by my grandmother. She means well, but I had to remember in her time, they had to learn how to stretch the food. So that was the reason for her method to hold on to the flour, to hold on to the oil. Realizing this day and time, you don't have to do the same thing. And I understand there is to a degree we have different levels of monies, but you don't have to be that frugal. Okay, like that's right there, that's a little bit too much. So we have to throw that idea away. I know I'm hitting some toes right now because I know a lot of us in this community, we're so used to doing that. But I hope that primary example kind of give you some insight to how some of the things that we are holding on to, that we should let that go. And sometimes, again, because of that method, we are bringing it into the new, and it shouldn't even be there because it was a time where that person had to sacrifice. We don't have to do that no more. I need our people to understand our ancestors paved the way, and we appreciate them. And just because they paved the way does not mean we have to continue to carry that struggle on our back because of the things that we were taught. It's time to let it go and release it, because sometimes here's the biggest thing, right? The biggest thing how you are carrying, you are doing some stuff, is when you are in relationships and people are saying, why do you do that? And why do you have that mentality? And sometimes we hold on to it because this is what we was taught. And we already know, every year coming into the new year, we're saying, you got to eat the black beans, because the black eyed peas, because they represent good luck and all this other stuff. Now listen, I get it. If that's something right there that you want to carry, because it doesn't hurt. You know what I'm trying to say? Cooking beans doesn't hurt. Eating the beans on New Year's to celebrate, it doesn't hurt. So if that's something right there that you want to carry, that's cool. But as far as that oil and that flour, let it go. So because again we're speaking about the environment, let's go now to the kids. Now this is speaking directly to the parents. I need you to understand sometimes how we sound, because sometimes we think our kids is crazy. No, we sound crazy, because I'm going to put this into perspective to you. We like to use that saying because this is what we was taught. We was taught, do as I say and not as I do. I'm going to put something in perspective to you. So let's just say you have a kid that's 18 years old, and you're constantly you told them throughout the year, do as I say, not as I do, because I want you to be a better person that I was, right? For all these years, the past 18 years, they didn't see you do certain things away, right? So get this concept. They seen you do it repetitively over and over, and you expect them to ignore some of the things that they seen that you have done. And let's just do a primary example of some of the things you may have done. It can be with the flower incident that I just told you. It can be with the shower thing that they told you, right? But you're saying, do the opposite. That sounds crazy. That's insanity. So I'm bringing this to the parents' hindsight, that you're telling this child who done seen it. Remember, seeing something over the years, that's a repetitive behavior. And you know what, sometimes too, you ever seen African American men where they say, hey, I want to be nothing like my dad. They might have seen some of the things that they have done, but this naturally and by default, because they was in a household with him, they start to realize they was doing some of the things that their father was doing, and they swore they didn't want to do it. So again, this just shows you, it just comes naturally of doing something unconsciously because you done saw it for so long. And again, this is not to knock anyone. This is just to bring some attention to what we are doing and how sometimes it does not match what we say at times, and it can bring confusion into the household. So again, these are just the little things you have to be mindful. But again, those little things, they can trickle into bigger. It's just like the what is that, like an avalanche, right? That avalanche is like, it starts as a little snowball, and as it continues to go down the hill, it builds up and builds up and builds up, and you don't even recognize it, because you know why? Because you are not in awareness. This takes everything for you to be in awareness and for you to want to actually tackle that one thing you need to tackle on. And sometimes it's going to require for you to take a step back and figure out, well, how can I, not do these things on. As far as my situation, as far as the flower thing, when I had that aha moment, I just threw the damn flower away. So sometimes it's just that easy. You're like, you know what, I'm done and I'm not doing that again. Some things it may require for other people to be constant telling you, hey, you do this, you do this. I remember specifically one day, right? I'll never forget this, and I think moms, we really got to be mindful of this. So, in the stages of how we like our house clean and how we may clean a certain way, we might teach our kids, to do the same thing, right? Sometimes I understand you might have a method that works for you, but if it's being clean and if it's done, it doesn't have to be done necessarily how you do it. And I don't know if you realize sometimes it's a lot sometimes when you constantly someone air and you say, oh no, you're not doing it that way, that's not the right way. And it has nothing to do with, oh, you know what, they just don't like to hear me because they soft. No, you're abrasive. There's a difference between being abrasive, and there's a difference between speaking kindly to that person or saying, hey, you know what, oh, you to do this better, you gotta use that, right? And then allow them to make the mistakes, because that's what they're gonna do. But sometimes we come in, no, you're not doing it correctly, and get out of my way. and then we go into the zone of, I would do it myself. But I'm going to tell you what happens when you say, I'm going to do it myself. What happens is when you get your kids to clean it, or even your husband or even your boyfriend, and they're not doing it the way you want to, because now you're frustrated. And to be honest, it has nothing to do with the cleaning. It has everything else to do with what you're aggravated about. You step in, you do it. You not come into the confined thinking that no one can't do it like I do it because you like it a particular way. That is the OCD kicking in, and you need to stop. I'm just being real with you. You don't realize how controlling and how compulsive you look because someone is not doing it the way you want it to, or is not in your hindsight of that, that perfect way. So I'm saying these little things because they matter. And then sometimes you realize when your children get older, well, how come you stay away? Or how come, you don't come by no more? Those little things, they matter. So remember, today's show is saying, I want more. So if you know that you want more for your kids, you're going to have to step into the realm and do some things better. Talk to them a little bit better. I have to tell you this, in our community of women, we have a habit of saying, oh, you know what? They just can't take it. I'm going to go back in what I said in the beginning. You're abrasive. You're rough. You're too much. And then you want someone to tolerate you. Have you seen yourself? You need to put that mirror in the face and remember what Michael Jackson said. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. Can you deal with yourself if you act the way you act? Be honest and be truthful. Because sometimes the truth hurts. And it starts with evaluating how you doing things. And everything that I mentioned today, it matters. Because guess what? You can be successful at your corporate position, but then when you get home, you're a monster. So you want more, right? Do better in that personal aspect. But we're going to be talking about how we can do things a little bit better. We're going to be talking about how we can take ourselves and evolve to the next level, because now we are in awareness of some things about what we are doing. Lady K.